Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And today's show is sponsored by Rumble Boxing. Go visit our friends at 1202 Shipyard Lane and rumble at your own pace. And folks, the person to my right has been rumbling with Mother Nature her first 4 weeks in office. And that, of course, for the first time ever on the Pulse, is the mayor of Hoboken, Emily Jabbour. Mayor Jabbour, so
Thank you
great
for
to have
having
you.
me.
Absolutely. So why don't we start out with Mother Nature?
Yeah.
You faced 3 feet of snow in your
Yeah.
first 4 weeks in office, 2 massive snowstorms. One was categorized as a blizzard, I believe, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken.
The second. Yep.
The second one. The preparation that went into that,
Mhm.
and by the way, it's 75 degrees outside today, so who's talking about snow? But we're going to be talking about snow a little bit. And now the cleanup, because the cleanup is still going on. We have these huge mountains of snow on Observer Highway, on Sinatra Drive. Are they going to be there till June until they melt?
They will not be there until June. We understand that that's definitely been a topic of conversation. We have an amazing DPW team, I will say, and they are just incredible. And certainly the volume of snow was quite a challenge.
Mhm.
So a lot of communities struggled where are we going to put all of this snow? It was really challenging after the first snow operation, let alone then having the second blizzard. So we are going to work as hard as we can to make sure to kind of spread out what we have to work with in order to make sure it melts as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't an easy time, and I really give so much credit. Our DPW staff, our sanitation team, they're just incredible, and they did a great job.
Yeah, and I think it's important. You hit so many nails on the head there. You spoke about room. We're a square mile.
Yeah.
Where do you put 36 inches of snow? I mean, and then after that first snowstorm, correct me if I'm wrong, we had a deep freeze.
Yes.
Where no snow, not any snow melted. Let's just say. You know?
Yes,
I
that
mean,
was
so-
really challenging.
Exactly, and then of course the DPW, and I believe, Mayor, they were working overnight to try to clear parking lanes and so on.
Correct.
So forth.
Yes. We had folks who were working 16-hour days. We brought in some contractors to help us with the removal operations because usually after a snowstorm, you can kind of work with it in the aftermath. But what we quickly realized with the deep freeze after the first storm was this snow wasn't going to go anywhere for a while. And that's really challenging in a community like ours where we were trying to get people back onto on-street parking and get about our normal routines. So we did an around-the-clock operation. Folks from all the way the director of public safety on down were on days and days and days of just making sure that we were getting rid of the snow even after the storm event happened.
Yeah, and I have to give you credit, Mayor, in your first, 2 months in office, just updating the public consistently with your awesome reels. Of course, we were talking off camera about the dog poop one
Yes.
just 5 minutes ago. That's gone viral, apparently. We will post that up. So remember, folks, we all love your dogs, like the mayor says, but pick up after them.
Yes, yes. We don't love their poop, not on our sidewalk. Just everything I've been trying to approach in terms of governance is talking to people about what we're doing. Why are we doing it? Why does it work this way? And I think for me as a local elected official, I just want to be really accessible. And that means meeting people where they're at. So putting that video on social media, if that's how people get their news, I'm going to be there.
Amen to that. And thank you for being accessible to our little cable access show that we have here. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
Mayor, another thing that you announced in between all the snowmageddons was a restructuring of departments at City Hall. It doesn't really mean personnel, correct? Or does it? So I'm a little confused
Sure.
about, not as confused as Josh Sotomayor Einstein, because he is a Republican. Different story for a different time. But certainly it's you're trying to make City Hall more efficient for its residents, correct?
Correct. Yes. So the reorganization that was proposed and approved by the council, and I thank them for their support, was really just to make our operations more efficient. It was budget neutral because we didn't bring in any additional headcount. We really were just reorganizing the way that people work day to day and thinking about it in terms of the philosophy of a department. And so one of the main things it did was to create an office of community services to really align where we show up and meet people, whether that's senior services, recreation, constituent services. All of those functions are all about how the city has a good customer service approach and philosophy to the way that we engage with our residents.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And now last week, you made the announcement regarding the budget. Hoboken is facing a $17 million budget gap, and there's a possible 20% tax increase. Now, I think it's important for the folks at home to know that your whole tax bill is not the city tax bill. Your tax bill is broken up into county, school, which of course is close to my heart, and the city portion. So only the city portion would possibly, and I'm saying possibly, face that 20% tax increase.
Right.
You've opened this up to the public. I took the survey last night.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to do this?
So this is a completely different approach to budgeting. It's something that this community has not gone through, but for me, it was really important to make people aware of exactly what the problem looks like, because I don't think it's fair to introduce a budget that's not telling the full story. So what I wanted to do was start by being completely transparent about the full options of possibilities. And so if we were to solve for the $17 million gap entirely on tax revenue, that would be to the tune of 20%. Now, that is not what we are planning to do. What we are actually doing is working from that as sort of the outset of the conversation and going to talk to people about what they value. What are the most important services? Where are there things that we can potentially cut back on? And I'm going to my directors and asking them to find cost savings within their departments. I'm working with the city council and have met with all of them about their ideas in terms of how we can reallocate. But it'll ultimately be a conversation about revenue drivers, cuts, and how we can be most responsible with your tax dollars.
Totally. And what I enjoy about the survey is there was a lot of questions regarding services. Obviously, if you want services, you have to pay for them. I mean, and that's something that the city wants to know from you folks is that, you know, do you like snow removers overnight so you can park your car? I mean, just for an example, I know that doesn't move the needle too much. You know, well, then obviously you have to pay for it. And that's kind of the sense you want to get from this, correct?
That's right. And it's, you know, being on the city council the last 8 years, people have a lot of things they want to see from their city services. I understand that, from garbage collection to sanitation to recreation programs. We love living in Hoboken for all of the different programming aspects and all the different amenities that are provided, but they do come at a cost. And in this environment right now, there are a lot of drivers that are somewhat out of our control. So there are a lot of changes in terms of health insurance and the state pension program that we don't have a lot of flexibility on. So wanting to talk about where we really can make adjustments in that universe and define our priorities.
Absolutely. And Mayor, just to be clear for the people at home, the 17 million budget gap and the 20% will tax increase, the possible 20% tax increase, will move the city forward efficiently for years to come if there are no cuts, correct?
It's getting us back on track in terms of how we're allocating our resources going forward. There's some, you know, concerns around sort of the 5-year outlook around how some of our contractual obligations will come due. There's different adjustments based on each year. But we wanted to be responsible about being transparent and really put it all out there from the start.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I mean, it's only March, and if I'm not mistaken, the budget's normally by what, June 30th or
Yes,
something like that. But it's coming up
usually in the
quickly.
dead of summer having this conversation, so
It's very, although it feels like summer outside. It's like 80 degrees. So, and if people want to fill out the survey, where can they possibly find us?
Yep, they can find the link in the city's bio page on Instagram, on Facebook. We've done a number of posts about it. I'm going to be doing posts about it. We would love your feedback. It's really important for me to hear from residents because that will help us make better decisions to reflect community values.
Absolutely. Well, Mayor, we have a little over a minute to go here, and I think it's important for the residents of Hoboken, your residents, to basically find out anything that's coming down the pike, basically. I mean, you know, summer's coming up. I'm sure there's going to be summer programs. I know a bunch of festivals are coming up and so on.
And World Cup is coming.
And yes. So what can the folks at home look?
I'm really excited that I have the opportunity to be in this role at this time because there's some really exciting things coming to this area, World Cup being one of them. The 250th anniversary is going to be another. We're really excited to share some of that programming in the coming weeks, but suffice it to say that Hoboken is going to have a lot of really cool activities going on, especially on our waterfront, that I'm really looking forward to.
Absolutely. And now that a part of that waterfront has just reopened this past week, right?
The Sumatra Drive reopening was just in time for beautiful weather. We're really excited about it.
Oh, and just for the folks at home, because I did get this question from several people, the second lane of traffic going southbound is not going to reopen yet, correct?
Not imminently, no. We're going to be doing the redesign of the larger roadway, so we really wanted to get the pedestrian path back open again because that's been a concern for people who want to be able to continue to walk and run and bike along the waterfront, but that hasn't yet been scheduled.
So, and hopefully in the next few months we will hear more information.
Yes,
I'm sure either if we're honored to have you back on the show or on her social media, right? I mean, doing those fantastic videos. Well, Mayor Emily Jabbour, thank you so much. Great job in your first 2 months in office.
Thank you so much.
I love all the updates, and we look forward to seeing you on a future show.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, definitely. All right, folks, we will be right back. Peter Biancamano here, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to follow and like our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok pages. We're constantly updating those platforms with cool stories and awesome reels. Also, you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we post all of our full shows, and you can also binge watch all of our previous episodes. And if you would like to contact us, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. We'll see you there. Welcome back to The Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano still in the host chair, and we are here at Hoboken's hippest and coolest new coffee shop, which is Saoco Coffee, located at 601 Jefferson Street. And folks, the person to my right is a man, a myth, and a legend to these parts of towns, because he is one of the owners here at Saoco, and that is my good friend Luis Junior Lugo, and everyone knows him as June, so I'm just going to say June from now on. June, thanks for having us on the show.
Thanks for having us here.
Absolutely, my man. So June, you were born and raised in this community, just a few blocks away, right here on, I think you said First and Jeff Jackson.
Right, between First and Second Street.
Exactly. Talk to me about your background.
So I started in the barbershops. I grew up on 120 Jackson, back when there was a lumber yard there, a gas station, and the incinerators. And then started cutting hair, ended up working out of town. And I was at the point that I'm like, all right, I want to start my own thing. And there weren't too many barbershops in town, at least, that were doing the type of haircuts that we get, right? So I ended up coming down here, and I tried my luck, and I ended up renting the old candy store on 5th Street that used to be Sandy's.
Yeah,
and that's where we opened up the first shop. It was Crew Hair Studios at the time. And as I got older, my creativity changed, and the direction I wanted to go in changed, and I rebranded, and that's how pretty much how I started. Like,
that's phenomenal. And June, you mentioned barbershops. I mean, you own 3 of them, 2 of them here in Hoboken, Taper and Tonic, which of course is my barbershop of choice. Shout out to Lamar over there, right next door. And then of course there's an uptown location on 12th and Washington. And if Lamar, if you ever go up there, I'll be visiting you up there. It's closer to my house. Different story for a different time.
Right.
And then you open up one in Orlando. So this is your 4th business.
Right.
So what made you transition from barbershops, which it seems you've been very, very successful at, to opening up a coffee shop?
So I've always loved coffee. I've always, been not a coffee snob, but definitely someone who liked to try a lot of different coffee shops.
Mm-hmm.
And back like 2009, I wanted to open up a gelateria.
Oh, really?
And
well, my paisans normally do, right?
The paisans. I actually studied that. I actually got certified at Roma d'Italia in Baltimore.
Wow.
And, I bought the equipment, and it didn't pan out. And my partner here, Will, he had a meal prep company.
Oh.
So when I was sharing my ideas with him, and that's my coffee buddy, right? We would go around town and support a lot of local shops here in Hoboken. So it was like, I've always had the dream to open my own cafe, man.
Right. And it's unique. I mean, and we got to give a shout out to your partner, Will, who I know has, just been instrumental in opening this.
He's the backbone.
Without a doubt. It's unique to Hoboken because there are not many of these types of coffee shops, correct?
Latin
flavor, right?
Inspired cafes. The name itself means rhythm, flavor. It's Caribbean. And the reason we went that route was obviously we're Latin, right? But as a kid growing up here, my grandmother worked at a coat factory on Grand Street.
Wow.
And when I would go with her to work in the summer, on the corner there was a restaurant called Flamboyant.
Oh yeah, I remember 10th Street, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we would go La Concha or Flamboyant. If not, they would have get pizza right there at what is it? Leo's.
Leo's, yeah, which is still going strong, yeah.
But remembering that we used to have spots with different flavors other than pizza or big brands, aside from like the Italian delis that I would go to and I still go to.
Yeah.
So
shout out to my mom and dad.
Right. There you go. You know where I was going there. So now, I mean, when I fly in, I make it a point to go see your family, and I go see Fiore's. Biancamano's on Washington Street and Fiore's.
Good.
But yeah, so I just wanted to bring something that would resonate with other members of this community, and that we don't have too many options aside from whatever, quick coffee or whatever. But I wanted to bring something home that was gonna reach other members of this community.
Yeah. And that's what's it's going to move us on. Excuse me, I can't even speak because I'm so excited about the food in front of us.
Right.
We're going to move on to what's in front of us now.
Right.
And this is the type of uniqueness that you spoke about.
Right.
So I'm going to dig in here, and you're kind of going to explain what we're having here. What is I know what this is, but for the audience at home,
Right.
you know?
So this is pan con mantequilla, which is toasted bread with butter. That's something that a lot of people, get in the morning and have a hot coffee with your bread, and you dip it in the coffee.
Wow. It's so simple, but so delicious at the same time.
It reminds you of home.
Totally, without a doubt. And again, folks, you cannot find this simple dish anywhere in Hoboken, only at Saoco Coffee, located at 601 Jefferson Street. All right, so this next one in front of me is some sort of tart, correct?
Blueberry tart.
And what was the inspiration of bringing these in?
So, like I said, I wanted to be inclusive. So I didn't want to just have something that was just strictly Latin. I wanted to have something that everybody could say, you know what, I remember that, I like this. So that's why we got the blueberry.
So fresh, man.
Yeah.
You could just taste that blueberry like hitting you as soon as you eat it, and that crumb cake on top. Absolutely phenomenal. And now we got a little bit of so in Italian, we call it a sfogliatelle.
Right.
Right?
Lobster tail.
Or a lobster tail, correct.
Right.
But it looks like there's something in here, no?
That's guava.
Oh, it's like a little bit of a different type
so
of it.
it was inspired because I'm a lobster tail lover. But I also love guava, right? So growing up, we have guayaba y queso, which is guava and cheese. But we ended up doing these puffs. So it pairs well with the Saoco latte.
Yeah, talk to me about this. So the
And,
Saoco latte.
So that's a Saoco latte.
What's in here?
It's a secret.
Oh, damn. We won't admit it,
Right.
We do have a pretty big
we
audience.
we for the right price, we'll let you know. But
that's why I tell people about my father's mozzarella.
Right.
Right. Exactly. But so this, would you say that this is your signature drink?
It is. It is. It's our signature drink. So we provide that hot, and we also have it cold.
Oh my God.
Right.
And it's 75 degrees outside today, folks. So this is just absolutely perfect.
Right.
And then you have juices here too. Now, I'm not really a coffee drinker, and I remember when I came here the first time, Will, your partner or the co-owner here, recommended the juices.
Right.
So this first juice is mango, I'm assuming?
Mango.
And you decided to bring this in because this is also something that's Latin inspired, correct?
In the Caribbean, you have a lot of fresh fruits. We do normally a lot of fresh orange juice, fresh squeezed orange juice. That's tamarind.
Wow. This is tamarind here?
That's tamarind.
I didn't try this one. I tried the mango.
Right.
Very
refreshing.
Oh, that woke me up, man. Let me tell you.
Right.
And I also noticed that you guys are probably one of the only businesses in town that has freshly squeezed orange juice.
Right.
I see the orange juice machine, and I saw your partner Will bring in a case of oranges before. That just goes to show you. So this is all phenomenal. These are all 10 out of 10s in my book.
Thank you.
June, why do you think it's important for people to support small businesses like Saoco Coffee?
Well, it's important to me because it represents the community, right? We're the backbone. We're here. We're reinvesting into your neighborhood. It's like growing up, I used to watch a show named Cheers.
Yeah, of course.
So I wanted that feeling when I walk in. You go to a family pizzeria and they know you and hey, how you doing? So I wanted to have that camaraderie.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so important about it because we give back by investing in the neighborhood. Right.
Amen.
So that's why I feel like it's important to support local business because we're your neighbors.
Yeah.
And it's important to us for the streets to stay safe, to stay clean, because we benefit from that as well as you walking home and not having to look over your shoulder and right.
Amen.
So that's why I think it's important to support local.
I always say local businesses support the community,
right.
And it's time for the community to support local businesses.
Well,
like you said, anybody that walks in here, and it's such a cute little coffee shop, they're going to know your name. I love that it's family oriented. Will was telling me his little sister works here and all that good stuff. And I think that's just so important. So we are just about out of time. We're actually a little bit over time. Sorry, I started eating and it got it all in.
That's
Do you want to just tell the audience your hours, where you're located on social media, and anything else you want to add?
Yeah, sure. You can find us at Saoco Cafe on Instagram. Our hours are Monday through Sunday. We open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sundays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Amen. Well, Luis Jr. Lugo, I told you I was only going to say that once, but everybody calls him June. Come
Right.
visit him at 601 Jefferson Street, Saoco Coffee. You're going to be totally impressed with everything here between the pan con mantequilla and this, well, I call it
Saoco
sfogliatelle, lobster tail with guava. And all
Saoco tail.
So, right? And then what was this called again?
Saoco latte.
Then the Saoco latte. It is absolutely a 10 out of 10. Come and try them out. The new neighborhood coffee shop, and you'll have a good time. Thank you so much again, and good luck going forward, all right?
Thank you.
All right, folks, we will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. Folks, we have a new television home. After being on cable access for so long, we are now strictly on streaming. So download the Surge Sports and Entertainment TV app on your Roku TV or your Amazon Fire TV and catch our new episodes every Sunday at 9 a.m. We will see you there. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano back in the host chair and back at the gorgeous offices of Hudson River Care and Counseling, located at 310 Cedar Lane in Teaneck, New Jersey, and 63A 8th Street in Hoboken. And we're going to send it right out to the founder and CEO, our friend, Dr. Pam Pater-Ennis. She is going to be sitting with Rabbi Adam Dubin talking scrupulosity. So, Dr. Pam, take it away.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having us here again from the Hudson River Care and Counseling. And with me today is one of my longest clinicians. I want to say one of the oldest, because he's not. But this is Rabbi Adam Dubin, who started with me in 2016. So this year's 10 years as a student and then became a part of our clinical staff. And I will let him talk more about himself. But the reason I've been wanting to have Adam here a long time, actually. Finally worked it out. But he is a clinician, but he's also a rabbi, an Orthodox rabbi, and he is the director of operations at the Rabbinical Council of America. And he's going to talk about scrupulosity, and he's going to explain that in a moment and why that's important as a Jew working in the Jewish community with mental health issues. So Adam, I'll kind of let you take it away. What is scrupulosity, first of all?
Well, first, thank you, Dr. Pam, for having me here. It's been, as you said, a long time coming.
We didn't even see each other in person lately. We see each
other
in a
years,
box.
Right?
Believe it or not.
So what's scrupulosity? So it's a term I don't actually use because what does it mean? It means being scrupulous. What is being scrupulous? Following details to the letter of the law, so to speak. And when it comes to Judaism in general, and we'll say Orthodox Judaism in particular, we follow very strictly what it says to do in the Torah, which guides us through our daily lives. Now, that's, we'll call it overall background, but when it comes to the day-to-day, what does that mean? And how does that affect mental health? So I see it a lot with OCD clients, that we have something that they'll pick up on. For example, we wash our hands several times a day, a certain way. Washing with a cup. Again, to get into the details, we don't have time for that. But we wash our hands several times a day.
Have you come back another time to explain it more thoroughly.
But we wash our hands in a certain way when we wake up in the morning. We wash our hands in a certain way before we pray. We wash our hands in a certain way before we eat, after we go to the bathroom, things of that nature. One thing we do several times a day. Now, I know most people think you wash your hands, so you go to the sink, turn on the faucet, and you just wash your hands, soap, water, whatever it might be. That's not what I'm talking about. We have a cup that we fill with water, and we pour it over our hands a certain number of times. Now, that by itself, we need to do. The Torah tells us through our rabbis how we need to prepare for these different things that we need to wash our hands for. It's a certain type of cleaning, a ritual cleaning, if you will. Fine, nothing strange about that. But what happens when it takes you several hours to wash your hands 6 times? Because what you're doing is you're taking this cup and you're washing your hand, just taking the water back and forth over your hands 3 times to each hand. But people with OCD often will get confused. Say, wait a second, did the water go far enough up my wrist? Did I actually pour it on my hand? Was it enough water? I don't know what to do. I'm going to keep pouring the water back and forth, and it can be hours. And that's not healthy. So I don't need to tell you that's not healthy. That's an element of where you might think that being scrupulous and trying to go above the letter of the law is a positive thing. But I don't need to tell you. That leads to the inability to function in life. And it also isn't what God wants us to do.
So in your mental health party, when you put your mental health hat on, how do you work with that? And I know you have quite a few cases like this over the time I've worked with you. Like, how do you work with that? What do you help people do? And I know we can't even begin to make sense out of that in our short segment, but
Sure. So in my background, and Dr. Pam always jokes around that I'm a CBT guy. I'm not. I just happen
cognitive
to be
behavioral therapy.
that I end up to take cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, as a background, and I'll start with that. Now, if you're not familiar with what CBT is, it basically, in a very quick nutshell, is that you take the connection between our thoughts, our behaviors, and our emotions and our actions are all interplay with each other. So I'll take that as a background, and there's Dr. Aaron Beck, who's invented, if you will, CBT, has you can read his books. It's very interesting. But anyway, it's too complicated to talk about all the details right now. But we end up to say, we'll go back with that as our background and say, well, what can we do with changing our thoughts, changing our emotions, changing our behaviors so that we're able to function in our daily life? So that's going to be the background that I'll start with. But as I say, I'm not just a CBT guy. I use mixed methodology, so I'll end up to say what works well with one person, with one individual, with another, the different cases. So I can't say that I have one specific method I'm going to use with all my OCD clients. But what I do end up to find is that when I can end up to say, well, what's the worst that could happen if you, again, using the example of washing your hands, if you don't wash your hands properly? What's the most likely scenario that's going to happen if you don't wash your hands properly? Again, going through...
You predict the worst.
Right, predicting the worst. It's really using what we call a thought record. It's going through step by step in the thought record. And usually, by the end of, I'll say, several sessions, depending on the individual, then they're going to recognize, if I only wash my hands and I mess it up, I think I'm doing it right, most likely I'm going to end up doing it right, so I'm probably going to end up to not need to spend hours. It might still be more than it's supposed to be, but they usually can end up, after a while, to tamp it down. And again, it's step by step.
And
what we try to do.
Feel like they can participate more even in religious life.
Right. I mean, after all, if, let's say, for example, I mentioned before you pray. So we pray 3 times a day as Orthodox Jews. So morning prayers, afternoon prayers, evening prayers. Now, I'll say my own experience, I tend to go to a synagogue where we pray our morning service at before 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, if I had OCD, which I don't, if I did, and I was having a problem washing my hands, and I thought it would take me an hour, well, I'm not a morning person. It's hard for me to wake up that time to begin with. If I had to wake up an hour before then, I can't even imagine. And that's 3 times a day. What am I not doing? Not being able to spend time with my family, not being able to spend time working, not being able to spend time doing the things that I want to do. So it really does affect every aspect of our lives. And again, when you're talking about scrupulosity in OCD with the Orthodox Jewish community, or I'll say Jews in general, even not necessarily Orthodox Jews, we do find that it can affect everything, not just washing your hands. There's a mitzvah, a commandment on Passover to have at the Seder night, you have to have your piece of matzah in the right amount of time. The exact measurements of the matzah, I can tell you there's different opinions, and how big your sheet of matzah is and how close you have to get to the millimeter. There are people who go crazy, and I do mean crazy, and how to eat it in the right amount of time. So let's say you have to, I don't know if you're familiar with the size of matzah. People think often about a square, it's about this big, but let's say you're like me, and we only use the round handmade matzahs, which are usually about this big. Now, typically speaking, we'll think that what's the amount of time to eat how much matzah you need to have is approximately 3/4 of a sheet of matzah within a certain amount of time. Now, depending on which part of the Seder you're talking about, it can be more or less. But let's say on the short side, you're going to eat 3/4 of this large piece of matzah in about 3.5 minutes. Well,
Wow.
how much to the second do I have to be? And how precise do I have to be with that to the millimeter? I know people who take their matzah, I'm going to crush it up, I'm going to try to drink it. That's not safe to do. It's a solid. And also, you're not getting it wet. That's a different story altogether. We're very careful often, depending on what part of the Orthodox Jewish community you're in, to not get your matzah wet. So I'm not going to get it wet. I'm going to have dry matzah that I'm going to grind down to drink. That's not safe. I don't recommend that. But what we do is we say you need to do the best that you can. And following what your local Orthodox rabbi says is the right thing to do. Don't measure to the millimeter. Don't end up to put a timer on and check to see how long it's actually taking. What's normal? What's typical? Rav Moshe Feinstein, the great rabbi of the 20th century from the Lower East Side of Manhattan, well, he lived in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, was a great rabbinic sage, and he ended up to write a lot of works of halacha, Jewish law, for the modern society, modern era, if you will. And he says very clearly, I'm going to just to put it out there, to be normal. You have to be normal. It has to be, God doesn't want you to go more than you are able to do. Do what God wants you to do. He says you need to have your matzah in a certain amount of time, the right amount. So what's the normal amount of time to eat a piece of matzah? As long as you're continuing to chew, you didn't stop, you're going for one piece, keep going. If it takes you more than 5 minutes, it takes you more than 7 minutes, okay, don't push yourself because you don't want to get sick. You don't want to hurt yourself. That's worse. Always be normal. That's the key.
Interesting. So that's a good cue. No, it's about our time, right? And I thank you, Adam, because we could really continue this discussion for a long time. I'm learning too. So thank you for doing this, and we'll have to do this maybe in part 2 another time, I think, right?
Sure.
So, Peter, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pam. We look forward to your segment next month, of course, here on the show. All right, folks, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. I hope you have a great week, everybody.